Unfortunately, it's rather common in wrestling companies such as WWE for them to embarrass a wrestler when they're leaving the company. If a wrestler decides to not renew their contract, WWE is prone to bury the wrestler on the way out and completely derail any momentum that particular character had. Additionally, if WWE are getting set to release a wrestler, it's not uncommon for the wrestler to be buried on WWE TV, and sometimes they'll even book them in humiliating angles. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at 10 times WWE attempted to destroy a wrestler's credibility before they left. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out our new channel, Wrestlelamia Shorts. Number 10. Raven. Upon the debut of the Raven character on WWE television in 2000, fans hoped that WWE would realize just how special the Raven character was. Sadly, he was relegated to the hardcore division with the majority of his run, and he was barely involved in any substantial storylines. When WWE made the decision to cut Raven in 2003, they attempted to completely destroy any ounce of credibility the character had left. This began a few months prior when Raven lost a match to Tommy Dreamer and was consequently banished from Raw. This relegated Raven to Sunday Night Heat, which was a huge demotion and was WWE's way of telling fans that Raven was not a wrestler they needed to care about. Raven was eventually allowed back on Raw for his final month in the company, but he would only wrestle one time on the show, losing to Jeff Hardy and subsequently being released from WWE. Number 9. Eugene. There's an argument to be made that Eugene was humiliated and embarrassed during both of his WWE exits. During the final months of his initial WWE run, Eugene was in essence turned into an enhancement talent, and he rarely won. This over time seriously hindered his relationship with fans, as Eugene, who was wrestling Triple H on pay-per-view, was long gone, and now Eugene was lucky to get an entrance on television. He made his final WWE appearance of this run on August 31st, 2007's edition of SmackDown. He would be annihilated by Mark Henry and placed in a bear hug before passing out, writing him off TV in the process. His second run was over before fans even knew it, as Eugene was brought back in 2009, but Vince McMahon didn't like the physical shape he was in. This resulted in him having a match on Raw against the Calgary Kid, who would later be revealed to be The Miz, and was fired immediately after in humiliating fashion. Number 8. The Revival. In January 2019, The Revival requested their WWE release. This was outright denied for the next 15 months, as WWE believed that The Revival had zero intention of leaving the company, and the duo were threatening to leave so that they could receive a push. In a rare circumstance, this push was granted, but The Revival knew that WWE didn't care about tag team wrestling and they simply wanted out. In their final months of their run in the company, Vince McMahon had an idea which would have destroyed the tag team's credibility forever. McMahon personally designed an entirely new gimmick for the team, which was less than flattering. The duo revealed that both of them burst out laughing when McMahon proposed the new characters, which would have featured the two wearing lipstick and carrying glow sticks. They were even set to wear suspenders and a large Shatter Machine sign on a chain necklace. Thankfully, instead of debuting these awful characters, the duo were pulled off TV until their formal WWE release in 2020. Number 7. Hulk Hogan. Following WrestleMania 19 and Hulk Hogan's victory over Vince McMahon, they decided to have Hogan portray the Mr. America character. This was a character that didn't really take off, as it wasn't exactly hard to work out that it was Hogan under a disguise, and fans just wanted the Hulkster persona back on screen. Hogan was incredibly unhappy with WWE creative during this time, and it was no secret that he was planning on leaving the company. It was around this time when WWE began to bury Hogan as much as possible on TV. In a Wrestling Observer newsletter report from 2003, Meltzer discussed this, and this is what he had to say. Hogan was unhappy about how creative was handling the Mr. America character. He'd come off losing to Vince McMahon in the arm wrestling match that didn't seem to serve a purpose, and then losing to Big Show's chokeslam in the 6-man tag, which was to set up show for Zach Gowen and Stephanie McMahon. Number 6. Mickie James. The months leading up to Mickie James' 2010 release, it was almost as if WWE wanted to embarrass one of their top female stars as much as humanly possible. They would implement a controversial storyline which revolved around James' weight. The storyline went on for months and involved Layla and Michelle McCool constantly belittling James and mocking her figure. The segments weren't entertaining or even clever, and they did little to generate any genuine heat. The storyline was without question designed to mock James before her eventual release, and over 13 years later, fans still discuss how inappropriate and offensive the storyline was. Number 5. Jeff Jarrett. In 1999, Jeff Jarrett decided to leave WWE behind in favor of joining WCW. He would follow former WWE head writer Vince Russo to the company with the hopes of finally being a top guy. Jarrett's departure was controversial as he wasn't under contract at the time of the No Mercy pay-per-view, but he was Intercontinental Champion and naturally WWE wanted him to drop the title. Infamously, Jarrett held McMahon up for money and Jarrett was paid $200,000 to complete the match. In the months before Jarrett's departure, he would be booked in a storyline with Chyna in the Battle of the Sexes angle. This storyline portrayed Jarrett as extremely sexist, and it was obvious that WWE were annihilating his gimmick on the way out. In the No Mercy match against Chyna, the two would compete in a Good Housekeeping match, and in this match, Jarrett was defeated by Chyna thanks to being hit by the likes of a toilet seat and a literal kitchen sink. Number 4. Lita. Shortly after the retirement of Trish Stratus, another female legend decided to hang up her boots. Whereas Stratus was allowed to go on top, the same couldn't be said for Lita, as a WWE send-off was insulting and a massive disservice to Lita and the fans. Following a loss to Mickie James at the 2006 Survivor Series event, Primetime would begin to auction off her personal belongings as a crowd heckled her. According to Lita during an interview with Chris Van Vliet, she was rather hurt by how WWE handled her departure.
It was like, it just hurt my feelings, you know, and I was very vocal about it. I went to my producer that day. I went to the head writer. I went to Vince. I went back to my producer. I went back to the writer, back to Vince, being like, is there any way we can not do this? Can we just do this in a pre-tape later? Like, can I just have this match? And I remember saying, all right, well, this is the last time you get to pull my strings, so I guess you're pulling them hard. You know, I'll go out there and I'll do business because I'm a professional, but I want you to know this hurts my feelings.
Number 3. The Big Show. For the longest time, it looked set that the Big Show would never leave WWE. However, in 2021, Big Show decided to leave the company. The former WWE champion has spoken at length about how WWE were treating him during his final months in the company. It was clear that WWE believed that Show had zero value as a top star. Big Show was fully aware that WWE weren't going to present him in a substantial manner ever again. According to Big Show, he was getting the impression that Vince McMahon wanted to put him into a retirement home, which was frustrating to him as he believed he had so much to offer WWE. One specific segment highlighted Show's frustration, and it was evidence that WWE were destroying Show's character before he left. In a segment with Randy Orton, Orton would berate Show and he would even grab him by his neck. It was a character-killing segment that was no doubt designed to embarrass Show and hinder any credibility he had left as a top star. Number 2. Bray Wyatt. In the months following Bray Wyatt's WWE release, it surfaced that Vince McMahon had a personal dislike of Wyatt. This would explain how poorly WWE presented Wyatt in his final months in the company, particularly how they booked the Fiend character. The Fiend was an interesting character, yet the feud with Randy Orton received mixed reviews as the match quality wasn't exactly stellar and the Fiend would never seem to be able to secure a win. Wyatt's final match of his initial run was at WrestleMania 37. The Fiend would be defeated by Orton in arguably one of the worst matches on the show. Following the match, there was a distinct lack of desire from fans to see the Fiend character on TV, as he simply wasn't credible, and it was almost as if this is exactly what McMahon wanted to achieve with his questionable booking decisions. And number 1. Dean Ambrose. In unprecedented fashion, WWE decided to announce that Dean Ambrose would be leaving WWE in 2019 ahead of time. Following this announcement, WWE's presentation of Ambrose was rather bizarre, and it was clear that they were trying to bury him. Ambrose would enter into a feud with Nia Jax, and WWE weren't even planning on delivering an Ambrose vs Nia matchup. According to Ambrose, WWE creative promised they wouldn't even bury him on the way out, but Ambrose knew exactly what they were doing with the Nia feud. WWE would also book the ultra-popular star in matches against the likes of EC3, which he would lose in 2 minutes, and it was so transparent what WWE were doing that fans firmly sided with Ambrose, and this would have no doubt annoyed McMahon, which often believed that he was smarter than the audience. WWE attempted to humiliate Ambrose on the way out, but it didn't really work, and thankfully it didn't hinder Ambrose's popularity heading into his run in AEW. But there you have it folks, 10 times WWE attempted to destroy a wrestler's credibility before they left. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.